This is a big rich town. I've just come from the poorest part. Bright lights, city lights, I gotta make it. This is where it goes down. I just happen to come apart. Legal or illegal, baby, I gotta make it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Power After Hours, your favorite power podcast. I'm Jeff J on this side of the screen. Krissy's on the other side of the screen. And today, this is a different podcast. You know Power's on hiatus, Power Book 2 Ghost, but we're going to give you extra content. And what better way than to bring you Shane Johnson, Cooper Saxe from Power and Power Book 2 Ghost. Shane, what's going on?
Hey guys, such a pleasure to be here with you. I appreciate it. I'm here to answer questions, to dispel rumors, and handle. So
Yes, I like that. I like that energy. We're gonna have a fun. It's gonna be a good time. I tell you that as you're well aware, like the Power fan base is like something that's unreal. Everybody's engaged. Everybody loves the actors, the actresses, the characters, and everybody. My first question for you: how did you actually come about getting the role on Power?
ooh, that's a good one. You want the truth?
Yeah, that's all I want. That's all I want. I know it's been a hard thing for you telling the truth, playing this character for the last 5 or 6 years, but work with me. I'd like the truth.
All right, here's the truth. So I've been a professional actor since '96.
Yep.
Yeah, probably weren't born yet, but since '96.
We totally were.
I was alive.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I was born in the '70s. So, I before Power, I was out in LA. I'd had like a run of I had some good things going on. I had a movie that I'm really proud of that actually was on Stars for a while. And then now I'm not sure where it is. It's a Lionsgate movie.
Mm.
And then there was like a couple of years where it was like, scraping together a few things and a few opportunities here and there, but it was like slim pickings. And so I was straight up. I'm just be honest with you. I was straight up at the unemployment office.
Wow.
And went from, which was so humbling, and I dressed the part because I didn't want to show up there in a suit or anything. But I literally drove from, I got out of the unemployment thing where they lecture you on how to fill the things out and how you have to look for work and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
and then I got in my car, changed in my car into my suit, and drove to the audition for this.
Wow.
So, it's nuts. But in reality, the journey for me to get this part was, I had gone in, Vicki Thomas, who cast 42. I was a baseball player, so I was like yay close to being in 42. And so she knew me. So she brought me in to audition for Tommy. And so when I got the sides for Tommy, I was like, well, this isn't really my casting, but hey, we're actors, so
Right.
I'm gonna go for it. And so I did my version of Tommy, which she liked obviously enough to bring me to Courtney and to some of the other producers who, and that's when I met them. And then, and I thought I did a great job. We had a good rapport and everything seemed cool. And then I didn't hear anything for like, I don't know, maybe it was like 4 weeks, like maybe a month or something. And so I was like, whatever, it's gone. And then I got a call they wanted to see me for Greg Knox.
Oh.
Okay.
Which I was like, well, this is closer to my casting, all American, sort of like, dog with a bone, goody two shoes a little bit. Andy Bean, who played the shit out of that role.
Yes.
And then I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, maybe like 2 weeks passed. And then they sent me in for Cooper Saxe. And as soon as I read the breakdown, I was like, here we go.
Wow.
Here we go. Because he was like, it's funny. Casting is so important in this business.
Yep.
And it doesn't actually, strangely, sometimes when it comes to casting, it doesn't matter who you are.
Mm.
It matters who you appear to be. You know? And so, like, I'm like from a little farm town. I grew up in a trailer, you know, but I come across like a privileged, well-educated, wealthy white dude, and that's how I come across. And so that's the first circle of casting. That's the easiest stuff for me. And then outside of that, it's like becomes more challenging, and you have to do some tricks and ducking and maneuvering. So the point is Cooper Saxe was kind of like right in my casting wheelhouse, and so that's how that came about. But it was a long time in the making. It was like probably a month and a half of. I think I auditioned 5 times for the different roles.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy because a lot of people don't really understand the actor process of casting, where you go on a casting and that might not be your first one, or you may just not hear from anything else. And I think it's also interesting to hear these stories about the actors who audition for different roles and end up getting the ones that you end up getting. It's like you kill those roles, but it always makes me think, like, what if it was reversed? I mean, I feel like everybody ended up getting the role that they were going to thrive in the most, but it's just always because you're actors, right? So you should be able to, this is the challenge. Like you say, if you didn't know my background, you would think that Cooper Saxe is me. But then how do you deal with stepping outside of what you're perceived to be to play different roles?
Well, that it's tricky. It's tricky because the first thing is you walk in a room and people make assumptions about you, based on your physical appearance, based on just your stature, how tall you are, how short you are, how you look, whether you're handsome, whether you're average, whether you're stupid good looking, all those things factor in, or whether you're kind of quirky. Like that's all immediately you walk in the room and people go, hey, I know where this person belongs. And so from there, your job is to like try and change people's minds. And so one of the things I'm very thankful for with these people, with Courtney and Vicki Thomas and David Knoller, who was one of the producers at the time, is that they were open-minded enough to go, hey, these guys, because actually Greg, Andy Bean, who played Greg Knox, was also up for Tommy. Which may be, truth be told, they may have like brought in a lot of people for Tommy initially.
Oh, right.
Just to kind of like as a net, like kind of a net to sort of see what was out there. But the fact that, to your point, when I sat down in the very first table read and I saw Joe Shakora and Andy Bean in those roles, I was like, totally, 100%. No doubt we landed where we were supposed to land. But to answer your question about kind of changing people's perspective on you, there's 2 ways to do it. One is you go in and you just like are an amazing chameleon and can kind of just take on completely different roles, and people don't have a preconceived notion of who you are. The other option, which is easier, is that you become a huge celebrity and people will let you do things outside of your wheelhouse that they wouldn't probably normally cast you as if you went in an audition and it were based on your talent or your ability in that moment. They may be like, no, but because you're Tom Hanks, they're like, well, it's Tom Hanks. Well, he can do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's funny doing these interviews, always researching and figuring out the cool things to ask. I was looking, do you have any control over your Wikipedia? First of all, that's something that I've always think about. Like, do you have control over that? Do you have somebody that updates it or anything like that?
No, I've never even looked at it. I may have read it once, like a decade ago.
Wow.
I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, it's usually, for me, it's usually like when something funny happens and then someone goes and updates the person's Wikipedia to say to like coincide with whatever the joke is. But just looking at yours, it's pretty straightforward with your filmographies and stuff like that. Two things that jumped out to me. You were in Saving Private Ryan. First off.
That was the first movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's what a way to start
Yeah.
your movie career, right?
Oh, it's
And,
pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you were. It says you're a soldier on the beach now, so you were one of the soldiers on the beach.
I mean, that makes it that sort of oversimplifies it because
Right.
it makes it seem like I was just a background guy running around, but I actually was in film for 3 weeks in Ireland, which is where we filmed all that stuff. And I was studying at Lambda, which is in London at the time, and got the job. Went to Ireland for 3 weeks. And I'm the guy that if when the sound is like vacuumed out of the film in the very beginning, when the stuff's all going to shit and it goes into slow-mo and Tom Hanks is kind of like just looking around and it's vibrating but it's silent.
Yep.
The guy picks up his own arm, all that. Well, I'm the dude that like shakes Tom Hanks out of that. And I'm like, what the hell are we supposed to do right now? And I look like I'm like 5 years old, and basically letting him know that he is the in charge. And then it comes back to real time, and then he and I are like yelling at each other, and then that kind of like starts a new chapter in the movie. So that was kind of the main thing. And then there was also some interesting humbling moments in there. Like one was I got pages slipped underneath my door at the hotel with this scene that was great. And it was like, you're doing this scene tomorrow. And I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. And it's, and so I get to set the next day, and Spielberg who's great, but Spielberg was like, hey, so who are our guys for this scene, to like the AD? And he was like, this guy, that was me, and this other guy. And he looks at me and he's like, no, not him.
Man. And
he looks around and he goes, him, that guy. And this just goes to show to our earlier conversation.
Yeah.
It was casting. I mean, it was that scene where it's a short little scene, but it's powerful, where these two American soldiers come up on this foxhole, and they're German soldiers in there that are just giving up. Right. And they're going like, sorry, I can't, what? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. What? And end up,
I remember that scene. Yep.
So that was handed to me to do. And the guy that they ended up using, strangely, just looks like a meathead, just animal, and he kind of was that Marine tough dude. And I just looked like a little kid,
Right.
And, so
like America Part 1.
Anyway, but it was a great experience.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. The other thing that jumped out to me, just because you could see I have like eclectic taste when it comes to all different forms of entertainment. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake right now, and you've done voice acting for that. Do you remember who you were, what characters you were for that? It says multiple voices, but
I really don't. Because I do so many of them. I don't play them.
Right.
I would play them. Like I played a little bit of Fallout New Vegas, which I did quite a few voices in. But I just, now that I have a wife and kids and like all the traveling, like I just don't get to play games like I'd like to. Because my problem is, and maybe this happens to you too, I get sucked into them and I'll lose like a whole week or 2 weeks of my life.
Understand.
Like,
that's why. Yeah.
When Fortnite first came around, I was like, I didn't do anything else for like 3 weeks. And I was like, all right, I got to go cold turkey. I can't.
It's an addiction.
No, seriously, because why you say I said I had to put it down because like my work started picking up, and I was like, if I go into the world, I'm in the world. It's like the Matrix. Once I'm in, and I can't get out until everything is done. I've completed my task. So it's almost it's almost like that immersive experience, sort of like acting. Like when you're in a role, you're in it, and it's like you can't unlock. So that
Yeah. And with gaming, with the thing with gaming now, with these open worlds, where you can kind of just do anything you want. I mean, I grew up where gaming was like Double Dragon and, stuff like that, where with Altered Beast, these things where it's just linear. It's
Side
one
scrolling,
and you just go into the side. Whereas this stuff, you can go anywhere. And, the next evolution, which they're already doing, and it's just getting better, is the VR, where you're basically just living in a world, with gloves on and a helmet, and you look like you're inside of some place. I mean, once that happens, like, forget it. I'm glad I'm not a kid now, because I'd be screwed.
Y'all would never see me. The outside world would have never saw my face. I can tell you that 100%. What do you prefer between voice acting and live acting? Let me not lead you like that. What are some of the different challenges? Yeah. Like, what do you like out of regular, I guess, live acting and then voice acting?
Well, I would say that my two passions are writing and acting. My two biggest passions. I really enjoy producing things, meaning like getting people together, like-minded people to accomplish a task, whether it's a film or, I got some animated stuff that I've done. With the voiceover acting, I have such a great time with the voiceover stuff because there are no rules, Even at any level, like you can be doing some silly little cartoon for Nickelodeon, and you can go from being here to on Mars, and there are aliens, and there's explosions, and it's just all whatever you can imagine, you can just do. Whereas in cinema or on TV, to accomplish that, you need millions of dollars. And with animation, it's actually just the same. It's just a drawing. It's every page is a drawing. And so, and now with the programs that exist for animation, a lot of that stuff's pretty wild. Like I did a project with, that Tom Kenny who plays SpongeBob. Mm-hmm. He was my lead guy, and I had just some great talent, and it was a lot of fun because it's, like I said, the sky's the limit. You can, imagine silly cutaways, and you can do anything and not be sort of tied down to the real world. But being able to express yourself as an actor, use all your faculties to impinge people and to kind of have an effect on people is really rewarding. With the Power audience, it's interesting because I've never really experienced an audience that takes things so personally,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the first couple of seasons, it was very daunting. I was like, I didn't quite know what to make of it. And the other thing is with the advent of social media being what it is,
100%.
Actors from the 80s and 90s and prior, you didn't have access to them, like now people can tell you that they hate you and they want to, punch you in the face, and you'll see it.
Yeah.
If you're diligent, you actually go through. I mean, some people don't pay attention. They have somebody else handling it.
Right.
But a lot of us actors, we see the responses and we see the DMs, and we don't respond to them all, obviously, because that's all you do all day. But you do respond to people, and you do see the energy that's coming your way. And so it's funny how hard it seems to be for people to, and it's not that it's hard for them, it's that the audience doesn't want to separate the actor from the character.
Facts.
They don't want to. And the second you kind of are momentarily human with the audience, that turns off. But initially it's so fun for them to, like, I mean, even in the street, I'd be walking out in the street and people be like, leave Tasha alone.
Why you do that to her?
Right.
You're dirty, man. You're dirty. You're going down, stuff like that. And and threats online and all that stuff. And it's between me and Michael Rainey Jr., who's gotten all kinds of threats. Leela, who plays Angela, she used to get all kinds of death threats.
Yep.
And to the point where, sometimes we got to go like, all right, I got to just not look at this for a while because it's getting too hard, getting too deep. But after a couple of seasons of that, I sort of like embraced it and just kind of, I saw it for what it was, which is engagement. It's fan engagement. And it's like a compliment to our world and to what we've created. And so that's how I look at it now. And I actually have a lot of fun with it now, even the hate. I mean, I would say, I don't want to say half, but probably close to half of the engagement that I have is people telling me how much they hate me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're getting to that point where now, you know how people have that character where they forever have the name as the character and you're no longer going to be Shane. Now you're always going to be Cooper Saxe, right? Like to the point where since the beginning, we've seen kind of a little bit of your character in the first Power, but now we're getting to the point where we're getting more backstory and more understanding on Saxe and how he is the jackass that he is today, right? So, how has going through the first Power to now book 2 helped, your portrayal of the character?
Well, with the addition of, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of folding things into a recipe backward, meaning like early Cooper Saxe there was a skeleton to who Cooper Saxe was. He was at the job. He was a thorn in Angela's side. He was kind of a prick. He thought he was smarter than everybody else. He wanted her job, right? And that was like the framework. And then it got deeper and it got like more, he had an axe to grind. And then once his friend died, which he felt guilty about, that made it more personal. And then it became about revenge. And then now in Ghost, you see his family. And this is what I'm talking about with the recipe. So you have all these layers that we're building with Cooper Saxe. And then now by seeing his family and the way they treat him and the way that the expectation that he's just going to fail, you fold that into the recipe, and that's like the icing on the cake that kind of makes you go, oh, I understand why he's this way now. And I think it's really great narrative storytelling because it's Courtney and the writers sort of seeing what I brought to the table and then going, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we added this next ingredient and this next ingredient to sort of, keep adding ingredients to make the character richer and more flavorful. You know what I mean? So, but it is interesting because I didn't know about the family much at all. I knew that I kind of, we talked casually about things, and I'd made up some things in my head. Like I come from this kind of a family where I actually had a very different concept in my head, which was that I was an overachiever because like my dad was not.
Wow. Like
I was overcompensating. And so like I had something to prove. Like I was the kid that was picked on because I always had shitty shoes or something like that. And so now this is the aftermath, and then, but once you get the real story in Ghost, it's totally different. And then, so I just folded that in and just kind of reworked it. And I don't think any of the new stuff, disagrees with or invalidates anything that's already happened. I think it just makes it more dense and richer,
Yeah. I love that about your character, though. I think that now that we're getting to see those family moments, I actually understand your character a little bit better that way. And you kind of you still do have something to prove, even though, your family is not what you envisioned it to be. It seems like you are still trying to overcompensate to kind of get their approval because they all do so well, and you want to be known, as that guy too. But back to your point, I know we were talking earlier about people taking this show so seriously with the fans and stuff like that. You have any funny stories of them people telling you to leave Tasha alone? Do you have any stories, people coming up to you in the street and asking you questions or anything that, has been really crazy lately with the fans?
I mean, there have been a lot of little moments. They're usually pretty fast because it's usually like in passing. A lot of like, I've definitely had the, hey, you like chocolate, come this way. So,
What?
and I was like, that's it. But there've been, people are usually, when people see me in life, out, like if they see me out at an event or something, usually I think people are surprised that I'm not more my character. If they see me, for instance, like if they see me dancing or something like that, they'd be like, wait a second, this Cooper Saxe doesn't dance. Like, what's this about? But I would say that, like I was saying earlier, I think the main thing is that, whenever I see somebody on the street that initially comes at me with a quip of, oh, and I hate you. The next thing out of their mouth is like, can I get a picture? So it's,
sounds like it.
So I get what it is, and it doesn't really, like, I've never not felt like safe. You know what I mean? I feel like unless somebody's like actually deranged, they get that they're not our characters. I think it's just a fun for people to react and relate to us that way, and I enjoy it. And I think that once I sort of embraced it and rolled with it, like, a lot of times I'll respond to people the way that Cooper Saxe would respond to people.
Nice.
And then usually they're just excited that I responded to them, and they'll go from being like, oh my God, if I ever see you, I'll stab you in the throat, to like, I'm such a huge fan. You're such a great actor, so all it takes is for me usually to be like, thank you,
right.
Question mark. And they'll be like, oh my God.
You're playing your character well, to be honest. If people are really taking it that seriously, to me, like, that tells me you're doing a damn good job as Cooper Saxe. That's what that says.
Yeah, no, listen, I thank you. And I feel that way too. I feel like it's just a compliment. And, and it also just goes to show you that, when you get a loyal fan base, it's just such a huge blessing, to be honest. I mean, who knew that this show was going to like be what it is? I mean, I didn't. And I mean, Stars, which has been great to us. Obviously we're doing all these spinoffs and everything, but Stars was a world that was founded on like Spartacus and Da Vinci's Demons and Black Sails, about like, pirates. And, that's the kind of network it was taking you places, and it was like these historical dramas, like The White Queen, Spanish Princess, and all that kind of stuff. And then in the midst of that, it's like Power, which takes place, it's an urban drug drama that takes place in New York City. It's like, what? And that's the thing that put them on the map. That's kind of like it's their Sopranos, it's their The Wire, so it's been like such a huge blessing, and I think we were all so excited to see Ghost kind of take that initial leap of there were nerves, certainly, because there was a lot of like, well, hey, without Ghost and Tommy, there is no show, like, I'm not watching. There was a lot of that kind of out there. And then the fact that our ratings were, I think even higher than the beginning, that season 6 of Power was like, thank God, that we did well. And I think it's a really good show. And I think we we've incorporated other dynamics which bring younger audience, because strangely, most of the people from Power were like in their mid 40s, it was kind of like, 50 and I are the same age. I always think of 50 as being like 10 years older than me, but just because he has such an incredible history,
Right.
We've known him for so long, but we're the same age. Joe and I are the same age. Omari's maybe like 2 or 3 years older than us. We're all in that same pocket,
Crazy. 'Cause that's the age group that really tunes in. So I would have never thought that.
What we were like 44, 45.
Yeah, because I know for me, there's a couple of Power fan groups on Facebook, and the majority of the people in those groups are like, Jeff and I's age, like, early 30s, mid 30s. So I would never think of your show as, being in that age group. Like, I know my mom's not watching. So, I think that's awesome that all of you are able to still attract that young audience through the stories that you tell.
Yeah, my mom is definitely the one watching. My mom is definitely watching. So you got a whole range of age range, and I think it's also a testament to y'all just as a good looking cast. Because like I know like 50's age and Amari's age. Like I just know because I know, but like I'm looking up and I'm like, oh wow, like like not like you're ancient, but like I wouldn't have guessed, and that's like the theme of it. So I think that when you have a cast that can act well and that they also look good as a cast together, because I feel like even as from Power to Book 2, right, y'all all just feel like you fit together, like you're in the world, like you've been in the world, and the way you interact, it just makes sense. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, what is he doing here? It just all makes sense.
I agree. And Naturi is a little younger.
Yeah, for sure. But that's also Naturi.
I didn't say that.
We've known Naturi for years, right? We've known Naturi for years too, from her music career and then her early career. So it's just like it's that familiarity that you're talking about before with like everybody there.
Yep,
for sure.
And I think incorporating Method and Mary J to the team was like, such a great win hopefully a great win for them, but it's certainly a great win for us.
Yep.
Because I think they're both fantastic. I can't tell you how much respect and love I have for Method. He's just like such a great energy and great professional, and he's an imposing figure. He's big, he's like 6'3", 220, something like that. He's like a big dude, and so it kind of works because he and I lock horns quite a bit, and it's nice. It's nice to kind of have those two bulls kind of going at each other, and he's the kind of dude that when you're not on camera, he's like spitting rhymes and he's working on some shit and he's like making jokes. He knows everybody's names. He's like whistling. He's dancing. He's just got great energy, and he's been a really great addition to the group. Mary, I haven't really worked with much. I see her at table reads and she's been around and she's fantastic. But obviously, I'm not in the same, which is something that's kind of weird about our show. Even Power is that there would be whole years would go by. Like I think the first time I was in a scene with Omari was like season 4.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because they kept all the world secret. Like remember when Angela, Tommy, Tasha, and Ghost were in the same scene? I think that was the first time they had been in the same scene together. I heard something like that. Maybe it was season 6 because they it was always like 3 out of the 4, but never the whole 4. So it's almost like when you're at work and someone asks you, like you work at like Warner Media. Hey, do you know such and such? And you're like, yeah, I might. What department? But you guys are all the same set, but you're in your own worlds within those same sets, and you may not interact in scene, but you may see them around. Like I think that's just really interesting. How has that filming been going? Because I know we got the 2-month break, and you're finishing up some scenes and some episodes. How's that been going?
Listen, we're rolling. We got another week. I think Thursday is our last day. And, you know, this COVID stuff, because so many of these other shows that they keep getting shut down, you know, I think Jurassic World and
the third one, that just got shut down.
It's got shut down. It's been shut down twice now.
Yep.
And I know Batman, the new Batman got shut down. We had other shows for life.
Yeah.
Got shut down for a couple of weeks. So it's just been, again, a blessing to just avoid that crap. Not that it would be the end of the world. We just wait it out and then finish. But it's like, the other thing is it's put an additional pressure on us to be, because you don't want to be the one.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. You don't want to be the one that shows up and they go, hey, so you tested positive, so we're going to shut down production for 2 weeks. Hey, everybody, Shane.
You had to have that McDonald's with, you know.
Right. You had to order that Uber Eats, didn't you, Shane? You had to order that Uber Eats. Yeah, man, I get it. And you see it with, like, on one end, like the NBA, they've executed the bubble perfectly, and no one has gotten no one's gotten sick, no one's got it. And then the NFL, because they're not and because they're not in a bubble, people are getting, like, games are getting pushed, practices are getting shut down, and it's just this is the world that we're gonna be in now, right?
About the NFL?
Yeah, like the Texans, they were talking about making them forfeit a game because they had a unauthorized practice without PPE or whatever, and then like 9 people on their team contracted it. So this is just like where we are now, where these sets are gonna have to be closed and take all those necessary precautions. And like you said, you already have a pressure as an actor to execute your role, but now it's like, I gotta stay healthy, or at least do everything possible to stay healthy. And then, you know, it's just like us now in the real world. You can do everything and still get it, but you can walk away saying, I did everything I had to do, as opposed to like, hey, I'm gonna go be reckless.
But if you did do everything that you were supposed to do, and you got it, and you ended up costing production a couple of weeks, which is probably $100,000 or so, maybe more. And just to pause for 2 weeks, and there would always be that kind of like, so what were you doing?
Yep. So how come we didn't get it, but you got it?
Like, listen, I was in my apartment by myself. I didn't do anything. I didn't go out, and they'd be like, okay.
It's always that lingering, right?
Yeah. So I've been extra diligent. The thing that's hard, and I'm through it now, but when it comes to the acting aspect is, you know, we show up on set, we're like, we get in the van, we're masked up, we get in the van, there's a big plastic sheet between us and the driver. You get to set, get tested, you fill out a wellness report. Everybody's wearing masks and gear and shields and everything. And then you go and you get your hair done with the mask on. You take it off for the makeup, but then you put it back on. You go and you rehearse. And then when you're ready to finally shoot, and everybody's wearing masks and shields and stuff, and when you're finally ready to shoot, they're like, all right, here we go. Actors, you can take your masks off. And then and they're like, okay, and action. And so it's kind of like you feel like you've been totally disconnected from everybody. You know, you forget how much we use social cues, and, you know, how much we communicate through our faces and expressions, and recognizing our friends, and kind of like, you know, all that stuff is just, it's kind of like there's this wall between everybody, and then it's like, and go. And you're supposed to all of a sudden be on point. And so that's been, you get used to it, but in the first 3 or 4 days was a little strange, because you just feel disconnected. Yeah. And then the second it takes over, they're like, and cut, and then your mask's back on, and it's like, you know, you don't know. It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little. But I think that the future is bright. I think that this stuff is gonna be a non-issue here in a little while. I think that we'll have. My hope is that we have a vaccine, that we have therapeutics, that we figure out how to handle this so that it's not so deadly. And then the flip side of it is that I think that as a culture, I think that because we're handling ourselves differently, more diligent about taking care of our health,
Yeah.
I think that long term, like people will get fewer colds. I think they'll get the flu less because I think that they'll just be more aware of, because you remember it wasn't long ago when people would show up with the flu to work.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Easy.
They just show up. They'd be like, "What's wrong?" And they'd be like, they'd be blowing their nose, eyes around, and you'd be like, "What's going on with you, man?" They go, "Oh man, I just got the flu, man. I'm sorry. Stay away from me." But then they're blowing their nose and throwing, and they're going about their lives, and they show up at work.
Yeah.
And now, can you imagine somebody doing that shit now?
You'd be arrested. You'd be arrested. Like at that point, it's like an arrestable offense because you're putting our lives. But from your lips to God's ears, man. I hope we're able to get that. Everybody, at least dilute the power of this thing, and we get past it. Want to talk about your character for a second because in doing, we've been covering the show since season 2 at least, and I feel like a statistician in sports covering your career and particularly Saxe's career in the district attorney's office, right? So let me read off this list to you. Kevin Knox, Mike Sandoval, Felipe Lobos, Jerry Donovan, Angela Valdez, Maria Suarez, Alicia Jimenez, Lakeisha Grant, Tony Teresi, Warner gets fired, Tamika gets fired, Mock leaves, Saxe gets fired, and then rehired. So after all of that, why would Saxe agree to prosecute another St. Patrick and get involved in the mess when he was out? Not only was he out, he got his job back, a better job. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but Saxe is now what Warner was, right? He's running the office now, right?
Yeah.
So he failed. He failed into that job. And why would he allow himself to get roped back into this?
I think it's twofold. I think that you kind of see a little bit of the impetus with the introduction of my family because being the U.S. attorney is kind of like for the resume and for the ego is a big deal. And then I also think I still have an axe to grind with St. Patrick. He's like we've talked about it like he's like my white whale. He's like the most addicted. I've just always and everybody's like you're crazy, but I can't let go of that bit. And then as you know, one of the things that happens here, which throws a wrench in things, is that and the other thing is Cooper Saxe. He wants justice. He really does. I mean, even though I've gotten a lot of people killed and, a lot of people around.
It's a long list, man. It's a long list.
It's a long list. But I'm reminded of when I was talking to, I think it was Blanca, and I said, who do all these people have in common that are all dead? I'm like, James St. Patrick. And she's like, and you.
Yep. Yeah, man, it's just crazy. Just like thinking, and this is over seasons, right? This is over seasons. So one of the things that I would say, Krissy and I, we always grip with is Cooper Saxe dirty or is he just justice by any means? And I don't know. I'm still kind of like, I feel like I'm leaning more towards justice by any means because we didn't know what to think of him when he first was introduced. It just seemed like he was looking to like the typical coworker stab you in your back type. But then it's like, okay, you really want justice to be served and we'll do whatever it is. So yeah, that might be considered dirty or whatever, but I don't know if he's a dirty lawyer at heart or just letting his thirst for justice inform how he moves.
Well, I'll tell you, the first probably, I don't know exactly, but I'll say like the first 4 seasons of Power, I never broke the law. I never fudged anything. I was trying to use the law and use policy and, correct procedure to nail Tasha to nail St. Patrick and to nail Angela eventually. And every time I did the proper thing because they were cheating.
Yep.
And being deceitful and had deals with other people, were paying people off, whatever their things were, had inside people at times, etc. I could never win. And so I was just constantly losing, doing it by the book. And so I think what you said is as accurate. I think that Cooper Saxe, by any means necessary, wants justice. Now, that being said, here he is with this situation in front of him where he's being leaned on in a way that he never has by Stephen Ott and John Mock, right? Where they're basically saying, you got to take down Tasha. And I'm like, well, we all know that she's not the queen pin. And they're like, yes, she is. She is because we say she is. And that makes things look good for us over at the DNC.
Right.
To cover James St. Patrick's tracks, right? And I think that never sits well with me, because I'm not that kind of prosecutor, you know. I might like hide a phone or, you know, fake some evidence, but I would only fake like I did with Dre. Remember, and I was like, hey, hide this phone.
Right.
But I knew, and I was right, that I was like, James St. Patrick killed Terry Silver.
Yeah.
I just need to connect the dots. And yes, did I break the law to do it? Yes. But it was justice.
Right.
You know, he did kill him. And so now I'm kind of being asked to exact political, political desires rather than actual justice. And I think the only way that I justify it is that I think that Cooper's holding out for like, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's another way. Maybe I can figure this out if I just kind of placate people and just kind of, maybe I'll figure it out. And then the other thing is that I think he's like, and at the end of the day, Tasha's actually not innocent.
Right.
She's not guilty. She's not guilty of this stuff, but she's not innocent.
Like, I know, we went from really with your character in the beginning parts of Power, not really knowing that much about you except who you were at work, and now, starting right off the top, we're getting more into your family, the history that you have there with them calling you Nancy. And then we're introduced to Riley, your niece. And I noticed, these past episodes, you've got her doing things that, you were doing earlier on in Power, but then you're criticizing her for doing the things that you've also done at the same time. So we found that to be odd. Like, how has, them bringing out the relationship with your family and things like that, how is that helping to elevate your character, the Cooper Saxe character?
Well, I think with the introduction of Riley has been great for me, because I think that it puts him in the position of being the closest thing to a father that exists for me, for Cooper Saxe. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have his own family. And so to have this niece that he has looked out for and covered for multiple times and gotten her get out of jail free cards a few times, and kept it away from her parents so that she doesn't get in trouble. Like, we kind of have this bond. And I think the thing that's funny, and you're right, it's sort of a very Saxe thing to do, because she is a Saxe, is she, I'll say, hey, I want you to go and do something really simple, really basic, which is just observe. Yeah. I think I say observe and report.
Yes.
Observe and report. It's simple. Don't talk to anybody. Don't get close to them. So then when she shows up and she's like, and I think that she's sleeping with Tariq.
Yeah,
at one,
that's far.
What the hell how did we get there? I said to just see if you see something, and now you're sleeping with them. What the hell? And so she's kind of like she can't be controlled. You know what I mean? And obviously neither can I. But she's this kid that is getting me. Every time I think I get a step ahead, she gets me in deeper. You know what I mean? She's creating problems for me. And yes, maybe it's karma because Cooper Saxe is trying to utilize her to do some dirty work. And it keeps backfiring on me. And instead of just going, you know what, let's just cut our losses and get out of here, he just keeps pushing further. Well, since you're there anyway, well, I need you to do this. And it's like, dude, you should just know that she can't just do, like, when she starts like taking, doing what she does to Tariq at the party.
Yeah.
All
share the location, open up the phone.
All that stuff. She went in deep. It's like she watched too many, like Da Vinci Code or something like that. I told her to observe and report. She's like, "Oh, I got this. I got it."
She was so happy about it too. She was so excited to take that on.
Like so hyped. And one thing that I see is I feel like Riley and Cooper are like kindred spirits in the sense that you're kind of like outcasts in the family. Like she doesn't want you to tell the mom what she's doing because and it seems like it's you're the uncle that she knows, one, can get her out of stuff, and two, you both are going to keep it inside because you don't want to deal with the family. So it's almost like it is like watching your daughter, like if it was like you're spitting your actual flesh and blood daughter that was performing, like living in another world. You know what I mean? She's almost like the Saxe of book 2, like the second Saxe.
Yep. I love that.
It's funny too. It's kind of calls into question too, which I've never really thought about, but it calls into question the nature versus nurture sort of thing, because she's not blood, she's adopted, right? But she's in this family. She's in this family. And by being in this family and not totally fitting in, it sort of molds her into somebody that operates quite a bit like I do. And so, it brings in like, hey, there's one of two ways you're going to go in this family. Either you're just going to like toe the family line and be successful and kind of be corporate and make a bunch of money and have a sailboat, or you're like, I can't do that. I'm not cut out to do that. I mean, the fact that Cooper Saxe is a public servant, like this, people go, oh, U.S. attorney, they must, be rich and stuff like that. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like Davis McLean is making like, 50 times what Cooper Saxe is making. You know what I mean? And that's because he can be like, these lawyers are like that. I used to talk to a lawyer sometimes like, hey, well, you need to have a retainer. Oh, you just give us $50,000. And then I'm like, that's prior to having a conversation. It's like, yeah. I mean, I have money with a lawyer right now that I hired 3 years ago. And I think I talked to him for 2 minutes and he has like a bunch of money for me. I'm like, how do I get that back? That's lawyers, right?
Them loans are a lot, man. They gotta whittle those loans down one way or another.
Now, I know we as fans of the show, we are used to Power giving us hiatus after hiatus during these seasons. When this one came, I'm not going to lie, Jeff and I were like, no, because we're actually really invested in the storylines that are going on right now. So I guess, the question we have to ask you, of course, is what can we expect from Power in the second half of the season?
Yeah. We were all, and I know the audience certainly was too, because it feels like it's been a long wait since season 6 of Power to this, and then to just have 5 episodes and then kind of have to put it on pause again. I was just complaining to the powers that be about, not complaining, just kind of going like, what's going on here? Like, why are we doing this? Why don't we just, and they're like, we haven't finished shooting yet. We wouldn't have the episodes done. And so this felt like the most logical place to kind of take a pause for a few months so that we can, like I said, we finish shooting next week and it'll probably take, a month and change to kind of wrap up everything so we start airing again in December. And in terms of what to expect, Well, obviously I can't really give anything away.
Yeah, please
but
don't.
I'll just
I don't
say,
feel like deleting a lot of this stuff. I'd like to keep a lot of this stuff, so please don't reveal something that we'll have to delete, because that's how we get down. It's like, yo, you sure you want to say that? Because when this goes out, I don't want Courtney coming in my mentions like, yo.
No, so I'll just say that the trajectory of where things are, it gets put it this way. These first 5 episodes brought us to a point which I think is like pretty high. Like it's like episode 5 is pretty hot. And then, the next 5 episodes are like that times double, I think. I think it's just like, things really go, things between me and Method, we really kind of go at each other, and
excited about that.
That stuff comes to a head, and obviously stuff with Tasha has to, like, something needs to happen there. And then you'll see, what the ramifications of Tariq sort of becoming like a son, like that sort of shit, right? Like that was obviously that's going to have to play out. And it's, I think it only gets better. I mean, I think the stakes get higher and higher, and I have been so impressed, and especially with the way that they crafted the 5 as well, but how they crafted the trajectory of the storylines to 10 is so masterful. And I feel like the finale which we're doing right now is just like, I mean, I'm really excited about it, and I guess the finale probably won't air until
January, probably.
Yeah, but it's golden. You guys are gonna love it, and I feel like it's cool too, because it kind of gets the hooks in. 5 episodes I feel like if we took a hiatus like this and we were doing 22 episodes and you did 11 and you took a break, it'd be like, okay, I can wait a few months but with 10 episodes, you don't really want to break it up unless you have to. And we're not the only ones, obviously. The Walking Dead, I think, the same thing. A couple other shows. So it's just kind of out of necessity, but I'm really looking forward to seeing, where things go in season 2, and a lot of stuff's going to have to shake out. It's pretty, it leaves us all like, it leaves us all up against it by the end. I know I'm being very general.
No, we're
excited though. This is good. I'm like, ooh, I'm into it.
You did your thing. I'm good. That was a good teaser. That was a good enough teaser. That was vague enough to save you and save us, and enough meat to hold people over for December. A couple of things before we let you go. What makes Saxe think he can actually trust McLean with this deal? Because at the end, it seems like a win-win for everybody but Tariq, right? And you know, from what we were talking about earlier, Saxe gets what he wants, is that ultimate justice. And then I could do my job for the first time since I got on this series. I can actually do my job and not have to worry about any outside factors. And Davis gets the win, really. Like the win, he gets his client off. But what makes Saxe think, after everything he's been through, that he could really trust McLean in this case?
Well, what I'm up against is a guy, Davis McLean, on one side, who's not very trustworthy. But I know what makes him tick. And what makes him tick is winning. I mean, he says it himself. I'm basically like, hey, you know, what is it that we talk about there in my office? He says, I'm like, you know, if he could get the needle or something like that, right?
Right.
And Davis is like, not my client. Isn't that right? Isn't that what happens?
Cold.
And so the fact is that that was in episode 5, right?
Yes. That was in episode 5.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not giving stuff away. So in episode 5, he's kind of like, he basically is like, hey, this is a partnership out of mutual desire for an outcome. I don't want to nail Tasha for crap she didn't do.
Right.
And I think that Cooper is feeling like, I might be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone right here. Because if I can just sneak this in, nail the kid who actually is guilty. I know he's guilty.
Right.
Nail the kid. And then I'll make Davis happy. That will be justice. And it will also be enough to get Stephen Ott and John Mock off my back. Because that will actually also clear James St. Patrick. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like, I feel like if I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, I kind of still have some integrity because that's actually justice. And yet I got these guys off my back because John Mock's basically like, I got you this job. I can take it away from you.
Yep.
You know?
Right.
And I'm in this balancing act right now.
Yeah. And I would say that doesn't bode well for Tasha and Tariq because I think a lot of times in the series, because of the methods that Saxe has used, and he just always seemed like in the beginning, you just always seemed like that one lawyer that was just hell bent on trying to tag somebody, try to get somebody arrested, and it was like annoying. It was like annoying in the sense that you were always the wrench in the nefarious plan. But people don't realize that I don't think Saxe is inept. I think Saxe can do his job when all the other bullshit is aside. Like the cross-examination of Blanca, to me, that showed, when he's on his game, like he's putting up triple doubles right now. Because I was like, how is he going to get out of this? Because she knows everything. But then you also forget she was involved in stuff too. So which one is it? So I think so do you think we'll get to see more of his actual lawyer skills at play coming up?
Yeah, I do. I have to ask you, why do you have a tape measure in your hand?
Oh, I was putting up stuff in my house. I was putting up stuff in my house earlier, and that's one thing. What's up?
What are you measuring over there below the table?
You know, I've heard that trunks can hold multiple bodies, so I just was curious, and I wanted to go into my car and see. It's one thing about this show, Shane, you'll know, is that I'm always fiddling with something and doing stuff like that. Like ever since we started shooting video, it's just like this is like my nervous tick, and this was here, and it helps me to get the questions out. But final.
She knows what you were measuring. It's inappropriate.
See, don't get them started because then this is how all of our conversations get derailed. Like every single conversation gets derailed.
It wasn't me this time, though. No, it was not me this time.
I'm usually the derailer too. So like I said, karma comes back to us all. So one more question I have for you. The elephant in the room that I think a lot of people don't realize is the fact that Tasha implicated Tommy in the original murder for Ghost. And now Saxe knows that it wasn't him because of the filming. Tariq, he got the confession or like the implicit confession. Could you see, now that we're going to be in a shared universe with all of these spinoffs, what do you think is would Saxe ever want to finish what he started with Tommy Egan? Given that he's been you know how dirty he is, and he's been implicated in some way where there might be they might pop up one day and say, we need to go get Tommy, and Tommy's out in the wind right now. Would you ever see a world where Saxe would want to go after Tommy wherever he is?
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm also gonna say I think that. You remember that scene where he came into my apartment with Ghost, right?
Yep.
I think that I'm just mortally terrified of Tommy as well.
Yeah.
Not that I would ever show that to him because Cooper's a man, right? But that dude was like, let's just kill him right now. Let's just pop this guy. What are we waiting for? And strangely, James St. Patrick goes to actually save my ass, you know? And so I think the willingness to confront that area is like exciting to Cooper, because it's kind of confronting the one that got away, but it's also like the one that left him almost dead, you know? So it kind of steps outside the bounds of my professional career of being a lawyer, and kind of is very, very personal as well. Like, this dude came into my house and put a bag over my head and tried to kill me when I was trying to play with myself. You know what I mean?
Let's not forget.
So yeah. So I think that I would desire justice there, but I also think that I know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And you don't want to back Tommy into a corner.
Right.
You know, unless you have like a bunch of guys with you.
There's one character to be scared of. It's definitely Sakura. He scares me. He's very good as Tommy. I'll put it that way.
And another note from what we were talking about, what we mentioned a minute ago, I've interviewed him a few times, and it's night and day. It's night and day.
Strangely, he's the sweetest guy. He's the sweetest.
That's great.
So nice.
That's great.
And, I mean, I love him like a brother. He's like the nicest guy I can think of. And I'm so happy for him to have the success that he has, because he deserves it. He's a great actor. I mean, he's a terrific actor and a great dude. So yeah, but he is one of those guys that also, if you watch like Ozark, or if you've seen some of his other stuff,
yeah,
he's got the ability to be that kind of chameleon sort of character where you're like, wait, that's that dude? Like, if you saw True Detective.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Did you see him in True Detective?
Yep. I'm in Law and Order SVU too, and it was crazy. Like, how he does those characters is insane.
It's wild. So and then you talk to him, and he's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, that's so nice." And he's like so sweet, like, and you're like, "Wait, what?" That's
I love it.
He's
Anyway, he's great.
How is it for you? And I definitely lied, by the way. I have more questions. I'd be lying. It's okay. It's fine. How is it for you to be in a position now where, you know, you were, it's always felt like an ensemble cast, right? With Power, like, you know, you had Omari as the point, but everybody else had their own worlds that we explored. But now it's like you're like one of the main characters now. Like, you're not just part of a storyline. You have your own storyline. How has that been for you as an actor to take on that responsibility, to rise up, to be like opposite Michael Rainey and everybody else that's making up the core of the show?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, you know, as you hit different strides in your career, you have different things that humble you, and different things and moments that lift you up. And I think sometimes the humbling ones are the best, mm-hmm. because they remind you of where you come from. Because, you know, I've starred in movies, you know what I mean? I've been around a minute, you know, I've been doing this for, 24 years now, professionally. And so the thing that I can tell you is that doing Power, which has been the biggest blessing of my career by far, has been the whole trajectory of everything you just asked me, which is, in the beginning, I was a very peripheral character. Like, in the pilot, I think I had one line. I think I just said, "Congrats on the promotion, Valdez," right? That's literally the only thing I said in the pilot. Mm-hmm. And so to go from that to this it's been awesome. And I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than to say that it's been an incredible blessing. And I'm also really, really grateful to Courtney and to the team that entrusts me with this. And the fact that I also, listen, I feel like I've said it before, I feel like I've been, on the rooftop, like Neo in the Matrix, dodging bullets in slow-mo for 8 years now, So it's been the fact that I'm still here and that the part is going strong, and it is, I love it. I love that the character gets richer and richer as time goes on. It's not like sometimes with a procedural or something, it's the characters kind of are static.
Right.
They're kind of the same. Like you could watch an episode of, SVU or something from 10 years ago, and then watch one from this year. And it's pretty much, the characters are pretty much the same. And I feel like we've all, and Michael's the most. Michael has gone from being a 12-year-old kid to like an adult, and I think the timing is perfect. The thing that I'm most impressed with, which I think bears saying, is that this was a guy who 18 months ago, all of us wanted to hit with the back of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
All of us.
Everyone.
And then now he's the lead of this show, and it works, and it just shows you how the genius of Courtney and the fact that she knows what she's doing, and it also shows you that season 6 did a great job of taking him from being this spoiled, ungrateful kid who every choice he made was the wrong choice. Like if you said, hey, another fork in the road, which way do you want to go? It's a 50-50 shot. You'll do the right thing. He always did the wrong thing. Always.
Right.
He's like the guy in the movie that he shows up to the blackjack table and he's like, and he puts $50 down and he loses, and he's like, fuck. And then he puts another 50 down and he loses. He's like, can I borrow $50 from you? And he puts it down, he loses. And he just keeps doing that all night long until he's like shooting up heroin with the hooker or something. That kid was first, basically 5.5 seasons. And then they did this gentle but firm narrative turn where you get why he's the way he is. And it's because of Ghost. It's because of the control that this man has had over him. And all that rebellion and all that frustration has made him who he is. And now he's become him,
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Like, when you're a kid and you're like, those kids that are like, I don't want to be anything like my dad.
Right.
They grow up and they almost can't help it. I mean, it's funny. Like my dad's incredible, but I also find myself saying things sometimes that I'm like, oh my God, like that's exactly the shit that my dad would say. Also know it's bullshit, right? I'm like, oh, that's so bad. It's so bad. And literally I hear my dad say that exact same thing. And so Tariq's becoming his dad, and maybe even a better version of him, because he's,
yes,
he's, by the end, I have to say, Ghost was pretty ruthless, even with the people that he loved.
Yeah.
And which is one of the reasons I think by the time Tariq pulls the trigger, you're kind of like, no, but you're also, I get it.
Yeah. It was one of those situations. I was like, thank you. Somebody did it. I know with COVID and everything that, a lot of production has been halted. Thankfully, you guys are back working. And I know that you said that you dabble in, producing and animation. What do you have coming up besides Power?
Well, I have been a little, like I think a lot of people, and I used to beat myself up about this, but when COVID hit March 14th, I was like, all right, so we'll have a few weeks off.
Yeah.
Yep.
You sound like me.
I'm going to chill. I'm going to chill for a couple of weeks and not, just go home and be with my family and not worry about it. And then 2 weeks turned into like, well, it's going to be probably a month. Yep. And then it kept going. And then eventually, so point being, I didn't get hardly anything done during COVID, and I'm not proud of it. I mean, truth be told, I moved into a new house, and so there's a lot of dealing with houses and stuff like that. But in terms of work stuff, I did not get much accomplished. And but my goal is to be a better. One of the things that's hard being an artist, maybe you guys can appreciate this, is that our minds are having a creative mind. You like to start things and you like to jump in and be creative. But when it comes to the business of it, it's like, I can't, hard to confront, right? Yep. And so I've made a concerted commitment to myself that come Friday, a week from today, when I fly back to LA, that I want to hit the ground running with just being, until production starts back up here. I want to be like all business, which isn't going to be fun, but it's just, I'm not built like that. But I have to just force myself to go in and sit down at the desk and do the business, schedule the appointments, get the photos, cut the reel, write the script.
Yeah.
Be an adult. It's hard because it's I used to be terrible at, I'd have like 50 projects. They were all like 25% done. And I'm like, dude, just sit down and finish one. Finish something.
This is a triggering convo, by the way. This is so triggering right now.
I feel like he's attacking
my
us.
Google Docs is like, talk to him, Shane. Talk to him. Just finish one.
Oh, gosh. Now, Shane, I know we have taken up your time, so, we're just going to, close this out. But do you have a final message that you want to give to the Power fans?
What I would say to the Power fans is what I basically said earlier, which is that we are so blessed to have you. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the hate. We, more than anything, just appreciate the communication and the fact that people are inspired enough by what they see. I keep gesturing over there because my TV's over there. But the people are inspired enough by what they see to actually take the time to go online and talk about it. And we love it. We love it. And I'm excited for the next half of season 1. And I think that you guys will love it. And I think that you'll get to know Method better and Mary J better. And I think that everybody's going to be really excited about that too, because they're great, rich characters. And that's it.
Man, this has been fun. This has been fun. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And where can everybody find you to send those nasty messages and curse you out? Where can they find you?
Well, I suck at social media really, but Instagram is the place that I usually gravitate towards. Twitter, I don't quite understand what Twitter is, but I'll do it for power events. So on Instagram, I'm Shane_M_Johnson on Instagram. Cool. And I think on Twitter too. But I only go on Twitter when somebody tells me, hey, you have to go on Twitter.
Right. Promote this, damn it. Promote it. Retweet. Do all of it. I hear you, man. Well, I appreciate you being on. I know the Power After Hours community is going to appreciate that, and Power fans in general. I think this was great. We learned a lot about you and a lot about your character, and I'm sure everybody's going to get a deeper appreciation. And that does it for another episode of Power After Hours. Follow us everywhere on social media. We're at Power After Hours on Twitter only. Maybe we need an Instagram now since Shane only be on Instagram. We have to think about it. Krissy gonna run it, so that's gonna be what it is. Krissy might have to run it. Krissy, where can they find you on social?
You can find me at Krissy Bree everywhere. And
soon to be at Power After Hours. And Jeff J says,
hold on, you can promote Twitter things on Instagram, right?
Yes, that's what we do. That's what we promoted on our own channel. So that's, but it gets into the whole, the conversation we just had about the business aspect. It's like, do I want to start another account? Yeah. Is it gonna matter? Are people engaged? Because our podcast built organically to be like not even like trying to toot our own horn. Like we just did it because we were fans of the show and we didn't hear anything else that we liked. So we I'd known Krissy for a while. I was like, yo, you want to do a power podcast? And she was like, yeah. And we just started it like that. And it built and it built and it built from there. Yeah. We have a pretty solid following, of pretty solid listening base. I actually I got blessed with the opportunity to be on the after show. So during the last season. So I was on there with the fans. Do you remember that?
With Terrence J? Is that what you're talking about?
So the part when he would cut to the fans talking about it, I think it was an episode that you were on, that we were on, and we were talking about your character and all of that. So,
yeah.
So it's been pretty good, man. It's been pretty good, and it's been good, and things like this is gonna help us to grow even more. So like, for real, thank you for giving us your time. I know it's Friday
Thank you for responding. I felt like I was like, am I bothering him? I know he's shooting.
Right.
Thank you for responding. I appreciate that.
Word.
No problem at all. Honestly, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you guys being interested, and I'm happy to do it.
Yes, and
if you edit stuff, just don't make me look like an asshole. That's all.
That's definitely not gonna happen. That's definitely not gonna happen. Trust me. We're gonna talk more to Shane so that I don't have to edit anything even more. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.
All right, guys.
All right.
I want you to sing it with me. They say this is a big bitch time. Yeah. I just come from the lowest part. Right, like city, like I gotta make it. This is where it goes. Yeah.